Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chemical Safety Technology course. I am your instructor, Suo Yanbo. In this session, we will explore the explosion-proof measures for hazardous chemicals. As we all know, hazardous chemical safety is the top priority of work safety. We must rigorously implement explosion-proof measures for hazardous chemicals and never let our guard down at any time. There are three basic measures for preventing explosions involving hazardous chemicals: controlling combustible materials, isolating air, and eliminating ignition sources. Below, we will study each of these in turn. First, controlling combustible materials. Warehouses storing flammable and explosive hazardous substances should be constructed with fire-resistant materials to prevent flames from spreading in the event of a fire. Reduce the concentration of flammable gases, vapors, and dusts within the storage area to ensure they do not exceed the maximum allowable concentrations. Store materials that can react with each other separately. Second, isolating air. When storing certain chemically flammable items, they must be isolated from air. For example, sodium is stored in kerosene, phosphorus is stored in water, and carbon disulfide is stored sealed under a water blanket. Third, eliminating ignition sources. This refers to taking measures such as isolating ignition sources, controlling temperature, grounding, lightning protection, installing explosion-proof lights, and blocking sunlight to prevent combustible materials from igniting when exposed to open flames or elevated temperatures. Specifically, this includes the following: control of open flames and ignition sources at maintenance or construction sites. These include open flames, impact, friction, spontaneous heating, electrical sparks, and static electricity sparks. The use of open flames is prohibited in storage areas with fire or explosion hazards. For operations involving open flames, such as electric or gas welding, that are necessary under special circumstances, a hot work permit must be obtained. Flammable and combustible materials in the hot work area must be removed, and firefighting equipment must be deployed. Personnel performing hot work must hold valid certifications. Control of friction and impact. Maintain proper lubrication of pumps in auxiliary facilities during operation, and promptly remove any accumulated combustible contaminants. When handling metal containers holding flammable gases or combustible liquids, prevent collisions between them. Do not throw or drop such containers to avoid generating sparks or causing container ruptures that could lead to fire and explosion accidents. Personnel entering or leaving the area must not wear spiked shoes. During loading, unloading, and handling, operate gently to prevent vibration, impact, friction, heavy pressure, or tipping. Control of spontaneous heating. Oily rags, oily cotton waste, and similar materials are prone to causing fires. They should be placed in metal containers, stored in a safe location, and promptly disposed of. Control of electrical sparks. The primary electrical equipment used in storage areas is low-voltage devices, which can often produce brief arc discharges and weak sparks at contact points. These pose a hazard to combustible gases, flammable liquids, vapors, explosive dusts, and other substances with low ignition energy requirements. Therefore, electrical equipment and their wiring should be of the explosion-proof type. Control of static electricity sparks. In locations involving flammable gases or vapors with low ignition energy requirements, such as gasoline, benzene, and hydrogen, special attention must be paid to electrostatic hazards. Personnel entering or leaving should wear anti-static work clothing. During pipeline transport, flow velocity should be controlled. Bulk chemical tank trucks should have reliable electrostatic grounding connections, and the electrostatic grounding resistance should be monitored and alarmed. The entire system should be capable of suppressing the generation of static electricity or rapidly dissipating it. Control of other ignition sources. For example, avoid direct sunlight and implement corresponding cooling measures. In indoor warehouses, prevent prolonged baking from high wattage lighting by using cold light sources. Smoking and open flames are strictly prohibited within the storage area. The use of handling tools that could generate sparks is prohibited. The use of non-explosion-proof mobile phones is also prohibited. The above covers the control of ignition sources. Next, let's look at other considerations regarding explosion-proof measures for hazardous chemicals. When storing unstable olefins and diolefins, Measures must be taken to prevent self-polymerization, as the polymerization process generates heat, increasing the risk of fire and explosion. Combustible liquid storage tanks and liquefied gas tanks should be equipped with indicating devices, such as pressure gauges, thermometers, level gauges, and high-level alarms. These indicating devices must be regularly inspected or calibrated. In addition, the tank farm should be equipped with lightning protection and anti-static devices, which must be tested once a year. Furthermore, we should also deploy emergency equipment. In key areas prone to fire and explosion, combustible gas automatic monitoring systems and fire alarm devices can be installed. Fire sprinkler systems must be regularly inspected, maintained, or tested. Calibrated rescue equipment provided should have explosion-proof capabilities. Finally, emergency response plans must be developed based on the different stored substances and storage conditions. In this lesson, we have learned about the basic explosion-proof measures for hazardous chemicals, related considerations, and emergency equipment. That concludes this lesson. After class, please consider the following question. What are the explosion-proof measures for hazardous chemicals? And how do you think we can effectively carry out explosion-proof work for hazardous chemicals? Alright, that concludes this session. See you next time.